just real quick, if everyone can just take the quick second and to say hello, put your camera on. We want to make it, I wish we could be in person, but if everybody could just take a quick second to get off the mic and say hello, put your, face on the camera so we can see who's in the audience today. This is a great day. This is a day before we've never seen before, and it's a day that we're never going to see again, which is our 2022 pitch competition. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I'm Sarah Fuentes. I'm the Vice Chair of Women in Cleantech and Sustainability. I've been a volunteer here for over 10 years, and it's my pleasure to serve this community. Next slide, please. So today we have a packed agenda, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not going to run through it copiously. So just take a glance at it. Just know we have 6 or 5 pitch today that you're going to have the privilege of listening to. And also we're going to spotlight some of our sponsors and some of our judges that are in the room today. And we are going to announce the winners at the end, so please stay tuned, and your opinion matters. So we're going to take your vote into consideration. Next slide, please. So we've been in this Zoom etiquette, so just please, if you are in a busy place, stay muted. Preferably, if we could see your, your beautiful face, we would love to see you, but if you're not, we understand. And just, this is a safe place. We want to be respectful of people's opinions. And with that being said, let's go to the next slide. So Women in Cleantech and Sustainability, it's my labor of love. This is what I say all the time. We're a community, a nonprofit organization that supports men and women in the green economy, where we want to help develop their careers and their roles in this sector. And on a monthly basis, we have events like this, and we're always looking for volunteers and people that would love to support our organization and maybe even be a mentor. Next slide. So since we've transitioned from in-person to virtual, we were only a San Francisco-based organization, but due to COVID, we looked at it as this, kind of weird blessing that has allowed us to expand internationally. So we are now in 11 countries, in 32 states, and we have over or close to 500 paid members, but our organization overall is almost 10,000 people that have been a part of our organization. And this to me is tremendous. We're a growing organization. So if you happen to know anybody that might be interested, hey, invite them to the next event. Next slide. So we are constantly growing our membership. We do have 2 types of memberships, which is virtual. So, hey, if you are in another state, thank you for being here. But if you are also local or you own a corporation, we are looking to support your corporation, and we do have some great value that we want to share with you. So if you're interested, I saw that one of our membership members is on the call, Robin, so you can reach out to her. Next slide. And I just mentioned a little bit about virtual membership. If you're interested, go ahead and scan this QR code. Next slide, please. Now, my great privilege today, we're going to get this party started because I don't like to waste any time, and I want to get to the good stuff. I have the privilege of introducing some amazing panelists, judge panelists today, and it is my pleasure to introduce them. If we can go to the next slide, please. First, I would like to start off by introducing Phoebe Wang, venture capitalist from Shell Ventures. Thank you, Phoebe, for being here. Sonam Villani, founder and CEO of the Urban Resilience Studio. Sonam, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome. Leslie Goldman, general partner and co-founder of the Artemis Fund. Leslie, how you doing, my friend? Welcome. Thank you so much for taking your time. Ari Quainam, founder of Managing Partner and Mindful Vendor Capital. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you. Elise Brownell, founder of Zephyr Biotech, LLC. Elise, thank you, friend, for being here. It's an honor to have these wonderful judge panelists today. They will be taking copious notes, listening intently, and will be asking you questions after you pitch. So be prepared for those questions. Next slide. Now, I have two amazing co-moderators and WCS, Women in Cleantech and Sustainability volunteers that I have the privilege today of co-moderating this event. And first I want to introduce Gina. Gina, can you get off the mic and say hi real quick?
Yes, hi everyone. It's so great to be here with you all.
Gina has been a volunteer for us. She sits on two committees, the pitch competition committee and the entrepreneurship committee, and she will be helping today co-moderate the event. Next slide. And I have the privilege of introducing my good friend, Christian Appiah. Christian, he is a rock star by far. I love working with Christian, and Christian has a great experience in project management and studying environmental studies, and he's been a big contributor to our pitch competition. Christian, can I get you to jump off the mic and say hello?
Hey everyone, and thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to hear all the pitches.
Yes. So with that being said, I'm not going to take too much of our time today. If we can jump to the next slide, and I think we're going to get going. So I believe that I pass the mic now to my co-moderator, Gina, right?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to intro just real quick, read off our 6 contestants for today. We're very excited to have. We have Rent-a-Romper, ALD Technical Solutions, Greenmetry, Earth Rides Incorporated, Mana Biosystems, and Climatize Earth. Very excited to have you all. Next slide, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina. So before we jump into the pitches, we do want to highlight all of our prize pool partners, all the individuals and companies who made today's event happen. And Sarah will be doing that. But as we move through this competition, we'll also be highlighting these companies individually.
All right. Let's go to the next slide, please. So, you know, being that we are a nonprofit organization, we have partnered with these organizations to support this pitch competition. Everyone that you see on the screen from Cleantech Group, Technica, EDF, and even Women in Cleantech and Sustainability are all contributing to the winner of this pitch competition, whether it's through some time of supporting the entrepreneur or giving them access to our community. So first and foremost, if we have anybody from these organizations, we just want to thank you for being here first and foremost, and also highlight all of the good things that you are doing. And we also want to give you just a big shout out. So if we can get some claps in the air, and thank you for supporting these entrepreneurs. Anytime that you're trying to do something great, you want to feel supported, and we just want to thank these organizations for supporting us today. We would not be able to do this competition without the support of these prize pool sponsors. So we just want to give you a great big thank you. Thank you so much. Next slide.
All right, so we're ready to kick it off now. We have our first contestant, Lauren Gregor. Lauren is the founder and CEO of Rent-a-Romper, a rental clothing company for kids because they grow so fast. Lauren is a trusted strategy and operations leader with 15 plus years of experience, most recently serving as head of program management for First Group PLC across the UK and US. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Gregor, and I'm the founder and CEO of Rent-a-Romper. I'm also the mom of 2 boys, and if any of you know how kids are, they grow very quickly. And so I really started to come to Rent-a-Romper from a place of my own home, seeing all the waste I felt like we were accumulating in our home, and really looking for a convenient solution that would also be sustainable. Next slide, please. By the time babies reach their first birthday, they've tripled their birth weight and have grown through 5 to 7 sizes of clothing. The average American family spends almost $1,000 per child per year on clothing. And we all know that fashion is a huge contributor to climate change and to textile waste. Next slide. At Rent-a-Romper, we're changing children's fashion by providing families with just the clothes that they need as their children grow. This is a huge opportunity in the US. with 12 million families with children under 10 and a $9 billion rental market. Most parents today are millennial and Gen Z, and we already know that these consumers are spending in the rental economy and they're willing to pay more for a sustainable option. In 2019 alone, ThreadUp recognized that the retail market for rental grew at 25 times that of the traditional retail market. Next slide. So how do we do this at Rent-a-Romper? We provide a capsule membership for our families where they can choose from our essentials capsule or a premium capsule that saves them time and money. We curate every single capsule based on their style preferences, the seasonality of where they live, and any other preferences that they have. And it's shipped in a reusable package so that the customers can change the clothes in and out anytime that they need as their child is growing. Next slide, please. Our business model is based on recurring revenue from our capsule memberships, where our customers pay a monthly fee for access to our curated wardrobes. We have customers in over 40 states across the US and have been revenue generating for 24 months. Our average customer has stuck with us for over 7 months, and that's growing, and our retention is at 90% month over month. Next slide, please. With this captive audience of new parents, we're going to be able to continue to grow and capitalize on new products as their children age and grow with them. We launched in March of 2020, and new parents are loving us. Our customers appreciate that we're able to give them cute options for their kids while taking the mental load and all of the shopping off of their plate and doing something that's building a better future for their kids. Next slide, please. Next slide. Our success thus far is due to an incredible team. We have a really diverse backgrounds from product, startup world, finance, and operations. And we're really experienced with our customer, because between our team and our fulfillment team that is not shown on this slide, we have 7 kids between all of us, and we are our customer, and we're building a solution that's really for us. Next slide, please. What we're most excited about is growth. I've bootstrapped the business and grown organically. I've raised a small family friends round where we are able to really demonstrate that capital will accelerate our growth. But in addition to just being a great business model, our success at scale will have a massive impact on our planet. We're focused on changing consumer behavior, and through reuse, we're able to meet our customers' needs with 1/6 of the amount of clothing that families would typically purchase new. Not only does this reduce consumption by over 85%, but it saves on water and diverts waste from landfill, and not in small numbers. At scale, we can save 7 billion gallons of water. That's enough for 50,000 homes for 12 years. Next slide, please. At Rent-a-Romper, we're also focused on creating jobs for women. As a female founder and a working mom, I know the impact the pandemic has had on women, and we're building a company that creates flexible and supportive work for women and ensures that childcare is not a barrier to economic mobility. Next slide, please. We're changing children's fashion and helping parents and the planet. We're clear about who our customer is and their desire for convenience and for quality on a budget and for knowing they're doing something good. Next slide, please. At Rent-a-Romper, we've demonstrated that capital will accelerate our growth, and we know that parents are asking for this solution. We're asking for $200,000 to close our angel round, and we'll be able to scale from 200 customers to 1,000 subscribers, reaching critical milestones and really growing our impact. So excited to be here today, and thank you for this opportunity.
Great.
That was
Thank you
great.
so much, Lauren. Awesome pitch. So we are now going to move into our judge questions. So we have 5 minutes of questions from our judges.
So do we just jump in here?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is Leslie Goldman. I don't see my Goldman Tepper. I don't see myself on the screen, so I don't know if I'm just a voice or what. That was great. Thank you so much for that. You on your competition slide, and this is a service I would have used. My kids are older, but I totally would have used this. I was wondering, do you think this is something that, I mean, your model is the same as Rent the Runway, right? Essentially.
Yes, very similar, yeah.
is it something they would or could want to get into, or have they just completely ignored the, you know, the kids market?
Yeah, so I think we're slightly different than Rent the Runway and some of the other competitors that are listed there. Rent the Runway really is specializing in like workplace or special occasion rentals. We are a company that is for your everyday sleep and play wear. So we do like pajamas and t-shirts and shorts and dresses, not necessarily things you would be doing for special occasions. So I think we are differentiated in that space, and the demographic that we're reaching out to is really like your parent that would be shopping at Target.
Yeah, no, I understand that it's totally different. I was just asking, I guess I was asking about the moat and how easy it was to do this. But I suspect that, so are you taking inventory? You have a warehouse and you're shipping?
Yeah, so we ship, we have all of our inventory. We hold the inventory, curate and ship from our location. And we have, right now we have over 400 brands in our inventory. So that's, I think, another differentiator is we're sort of brand agnostic. We're going to use the resources that are available. Whether that's if we can find it through wholesale partnerships, or we also have a donation program where customers that give us their used clothing, gently clothing, they get credit for that towards their membership. So our real focus is just use the resources out there as long as possible.
Okay. Can I ask another question? Unless somebody, I can't tell if somebody wants to jump in because I don't see anybody but me and you. So
This is Elise.
I can go
Brownell.
after you.
Hi, Elise.
Okay.
Hi, this is Elise. Yes, I do have a question. Do you have any projections or strategy for exit? I can't hear you.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
Oh, I don't know how that happened. So yes, we do have model and projections. We are estimating that we can grow to about 25 million in the next 3 years. And we're building not only the model of curating capsules and just this rental model for everyday clothing, but we do have technology as well. So we're capturing a ton of data on the brands that we carry, how long we are able to use the clothing, how many times it's been used, so that we're able to then, use that data as well as to build a technology that we could either, as we think about exit, white label for like a Target or a Gap or somebody to basically run this type of a model for their kids' brands, or where we could sell that technology.
All right, I think we got time for one more question from another judge. We have another judge that would like to jump in here.
Yeah, so this is Phoebe. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe just a really quick question. I really like the idea. I have 2 kids, so it's the clothing is definitely like a big issue. So I wonder, like in the current situation, right, COVID, and everyone's super sensitive around the sanitation and cleanliness of the clothes. So how are you going to solve that and make your parent customers feel comfortable about using your service?
Yeah, that was a really big concern at the beginning. We launched in March of 2020, the same week as the lockdown. So it was really at the beginning, an issue. And every time that the clothes come back to us, we go through an inspection process and a cleaning process and sanitization process before the clothes go back out to anybody else. So the customers really haven't had a concern with that in terms of the cleanliness procedure. We've been doing things over time to make sure that we get better in terms of removing odor, removing stains, repairing any clothing. And at least for the 500 or so customers that we've had so far, at this point, it's not a concern anymore. Their concerns are more about the clothing, the quality, and delivery and efficiency rather than around the cleanliness, which is great.
Yeah, and then the follow-up would be like, how does that additional cost get into your margin? What kind of percentage is that?
Yeah, the cleaning is actually one of the smallest parts of our cost. The biggest cost right now for us is shipping. The next biggest is our inventory, but our inventory, because we're reusing it over time, we get to spread that out over time. So cleaning and what we call like pick and pack is less than 10% of the cost of our fulfilling.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you so much. Great questions. And I think that's our time for questions for you, Lauren. So we're going to get on to the next contestant.
Thank you.
Thank you again to our judges. If we could go to the next slide, please. So real quick, we would like to give a shout out to one of our prize pool sponsors, Technica Communications. Technica is an award-winning boutique full-service public relations, social media, and content marketing firm. And we want to give a big thank you to them as they have generously provided a 1-hour PR and marketing consultation to our pitch competition winner. So now we're going to move on to our second contestant, and Christian, you can take it away.
Thanks, Gina. And I'm really excited to introduce our next contestant, Talieh Zargar. Talieh Zargar is based in San Diego and currently has a PhD of engineering mechanics from the University of Arizona and holds 2 master's degrees, Master's of Science in Mechanical Engineering and a Master of Information and Data Sciences. She is the CTO and co-founder of ALD Technical Solutions, and she founded ALD with the vision of leveraging advanced composite material and solutions to empower infrastructure, grid lines, and renewable energies. Please give a warm welcome to Talieh Zargar.
Hello, thank you very much. Can you go to the next slide, please? Hello, my name is Talieh, CTO and co-founder of ALD Technical Solutions. At ALD, we are empowering grid by using composite material and solutions. And today I'm honored to be presenting to you one of our technologies called composite wire wrap technology. Can you go to the next slide? 10% of California's wildfires are triggered by power lines. These wildfires are usually the most destructive and the deadliest ones. 2018 campfire in Butte County, which was started by a power line owned by PG&E, it burned more than 153,000 acres and it destroyed more than 18,000 structures. It unfortunately also killed 86 people and costs more than $16 billion. Next slide, please. One of the current solution is placing the power lines under the ground. It may sound sensible, but it is far from cheap. Placing the whole PG&E's entire territory under the ground will cost over $100 billion. And at the current pace, moving all of California's utility lines under the ground would take 1,000 years. Next slide, please. What if I tell you that there exists a solution that's much faster, much cheaper, and it uses the existing power lines? Our composite wire wrap technology is a patented, lightweight, high-strength composite that will be installed and by our robotic installer cured in place around existing power lines with no need to remove the lines and build a new lines. This technology can double the power capacity with 1/10 of total cost compared to other technologies. There is no downtime necessary, and this is the fastest way to retrofit the grid line. Can you go to the next slide, please? The drivers of overhead conductor markets are aging grid infrastructures, improving reliability and resiliency, and penetration of renewable energy growth. It's been estimated that by 2030, the demand for overhead conductors will reach 16 million kilometers, the new conductors. It is 80% increase over a decade, and it's a great opportunity for composite wire wrap technology to defer or transfer some of these investment into retrofitting the existing power lines. Next slide, please. Building a new transmission line is a very complex. It can take between 5 to 15 years, and it can cost between $200,000 per mile to $3 million per mile based on voltage and location. And in these projects, the construction costs are the most significant portion of the cost, usually 75% of it. We are the only technology in the market that use the existing power lines, and we are removing these, reducing these construction costs. As you see here in this graph, all of our competitors' downtime and costs are way higher than our technology. Next slide, please. Our business model is providing turnkey solutions to our customers. Utilities, as our main customer, will get composite material, engineering design, robotic installation, quality checks, and quality assurance. It's been estimated that by 2027, $131 billion will be invested in grid line infrastructure. From these 131 billion, 17 billion would be on overhead conductors. We are considering California as our beachhead market, as we are located in California as well. Can you go to the next slide? We have established a world-class team from industry and academic. I have a PhD and 2 masters in engineering, and my co-founder Davut, he also has a PhD in chemical engineering and has been part of the JV of Dow Chemical. We have also a group of very talented expertise from utilities, business development, finance as our advisory board. And these group of people are helping us with product development, manufacturing, scale up, market penetration, and commercialization. And next slide, please. The next round of funding will support us with fabrication of our robotic installer and performing customer side demonstration. This will help us accelerate commercialization and will de-risk our technology to be used by our customers that are the utilities. Can you go to the next slide? In summary, our patented composite wire wrap technology can double the power capacity with 1/10 of total cost, and there is no downtime necessary. We have been awarded around $1 million grant over the last 2 years, and we are looking for $5 million for the next 2 years to launch our product and also do utility pilot demonstration. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you for your.
Thank you, Talieh, for the awesome pitch and incredible business. We're going to now open up the floor for judge questions.
Hi, all. This is Sonam. Thank you again, Talieh. This is really interesting. Can you talk a bit about what your product sales strategy is like with these utility companies? You know, what types of conversations have you had in your customer discovery process, what their price point is, and some of those pieces?
Yes, so we have been working with some contractors that are working with utilities, and also inspection companies that also work with utilities. One of our strategies to penetrate to the utilities is through inspection companies and contractors who are working with them to find our first pilot demonstration. So we are hoping that after we perform our first pilot demonstration in one of the in a location, we can de-risk this technology and will make it more attractive to the other utilities. And so these are the main our main route to markets, through inspection companies and through contractor companies.
Hi, Talieh. This is,
sorry.
oh, hi, Talieh. Yeah, it's totally fine. I just have a quick question. So from your modeling, I know you're kind of in advance of the revenue, but when you are doing that, how much of the revenue is going to be coming from your services rather than from the actual systematized manufacturing line?
So our technology is a composite structure, and we will have our own robotic installer that will install it over on this. As I said, mentioned, our business model is to provide everything to the customer. So not only just material, but engineering, design, and installation. So we have partnership with our product development and our suppliers. We have so we can easily scale up that, so that shouldn't be very costly. I think our main revenue will be coming from material development part of it.
Oh, okay. Do you have a percent breakdown, or is there any kind of unit economics around that of how much goes to the partner versus what's coming in, from the client cash flow wise? How much of that goes to the partner versus how much do you retain?
So this is our very preliminary conversation that we are having. It's around 20% to our partners, 80%.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
This is Elise. I do have a question about your wrap technology. How long does it last?
So this is designed to be last for forever. These composite materials are very lasting, but our engineering design is based on 3 to 5 years of, between the so it depends on like how we design it, basically. So we can design it to last between like 5 to a decade, 5 years to a decade.
Thank you.
We have 1 more minute for another question from the judges. Do we have any more questions for Talieh?
Yeah. So you were awarded a grant. Have you raised any money thus far? And how far along are you in developing the product?
Sure. So we have awarded CalSeed and CalTestBed funding, and we have verified our technology in UCLA SMERC lab through that funding. So we have tested in the small scale lab tests. We haven't had any venture funding yet. So we are in the process of raising some.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Awesome. I think that is time for our judge questions, and we are going to go on to our next contestant. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Talieh. Thank you to the judges, and thank you, Sarah. Before we move to our next contestant, I just wanted to highlight a sponsor and an organization that helped make today's pitch competition possible. Sea Change Advisors is a talent venture for climate tech, providing talent advisory and recruiting for venture capital and private equity. And as a prize for today's competition, they'll be providing 2 hours of advice in a consult to help with talent planning and recruiting strategy. I'm dropping a link for them in the chat. And thank you again to Sea Change Advisors for their generous donation. I'm going to hand this over to Gina.
Thanks, Christian. So we are on to our third contestant. I'm going to introduce Amie Lewis. Amie is founder of Greenmetry. She has been a green building professional since 2006 and focused on Cal Green since 2016 with additional experience in the US and abroad in lead project management, energy commissioning, and workplace trainings. She holds a BA in environmental studies from Barnard College of Columbia University and an MBA in sustainable business from Lamb Family College of Business at San Francisco State. This is her third time as a business founder. Welcome, Amie.
Thank you, Gina, and hi, everyone. Next slide. Greenmetry is an online platform for processing compliance forms for Cal Green, California's mandatory green building code. I created Greenmetry to make green building code compliance easier on practitioners while making it more effective against climate change. Next slide. I arrived here as a career-long green building professional. It was my experience along the actual user journey as a Cal Green reviewer that inspired me to create Greenmetry. Etta Jackson is our head of design and product. She's an incredible UI UX designer with experience shaping tech companies with environmental missions. Our advisors weigh in on startup strategy, technology, business law, and architecture. Next slide. Cal Green is California's green building code, which includes mandatory statewide measures as well as voluntary tiers. It impacts the majority of construction in the state, upwards of 130,000 building permits yearly. It came into effect in 2010 and is on a triennial cycle. Next slide. Currently, the Cal Green process is completely fragmented. When the new code came into effect, the onus for implementation fell to all the local jurisdictions, all the local building departments, of which there are 540 in California. That means that each building department puts the requirements into their own format, and if we're lucky, makes it available on their website. For someone on the permit applicant side, such as an architect or general contractor, it's confusing and wastes time. Once you find the right form, you still need to figure out processing requirements and other instructions. This translates into time spent by building department staff fielding questions and fixing issues. Some building officials say they need to fix issues with how the forms are filled 90% of the time. Next slide. Our solution is an online platform for processing Cal Green reviews. Greenmetry allows any permit applicant in the state to prepare and share their Cal Green checklist with any building department in the state. Applicants log into a dashboard to manage compliance reviews all in one place. The platform pulls up the right requirements for your city and offers many options to flexibly share your checklist with your building department, including by inserting into the plan set, as is most commonly done. Our consistent workflow was developed by surveying many different versions of the process and saves time and maximizes clarity, transparency, and ease of use. City administrators can receive forms without creating an account or can log in to track projects, look up records, and view reports. The platform also supports integrations with workflow management systems agencies use for their overall permit process. Lastly, the submissions create a data set that can be used by cities and the state to gather insights into program performance. Next slide. We all know that buildings account for 40% of all carbon emissions and that addressing the built environment is critical to sustainability. Legislators are turning their attention to the fact that 50% of a building's overall emissions are embodied as opposed to operational. It's incredibly timely to address this, such as through prescriptive requirements. Mandatory code is crucial to hitting state targets, and Greenmetry can help accelerate its impact. Next slide. The construction market is growing and sustainable construction is increasing as a proportion of it. For our launch product, we're starting in the third market vertical shown at right. This is because commercial building has a high volume of jobs ranging from large projects to small tenant improvements, and all need to comply. Next slide. Greenmetry is platform as a service with an applicant side fee and free basic access for cities. We offer subscriptions as well as an option to pay a one-time fee to submit a form. Cities can order custom reports or add custom integrations. Next slide. The major players in this space consist of project management software used by design and construction firms and workflow management systems used by building departments. However, none specifically manage CalGreen compliance. Greenmetry is a flexible tool that can work in combination with any of these. Next slide. Currently, our launch product is ready, and we have 5 cities in writing saying they will accept our forms or in conversation for further collaboration. We will soon be raising a friends and family round. Proceeds will be used to drive customer acquisition, primarily by hiring a head of sales and head of growth and expanding IP protection. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank you so much, Amie. So now we're going to move into our 5 minutes of judge Q&A.
Thank you, Amie. This is Leslie Goldman Tepper. I wanted to ask about the last thing that you said. What was the last thing that you said? Oh my gosh.
Raising friends and family round to drive customer acquisition.
No, it was after that. Oh my gosh, I'm having
5
a senior
cities
moment.
in writing, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I can't remember, but in terms of it was IP protection. That's what it was. So you said you were going to expand IP protection. Do you have any IP protection right now?
Yes, I have some IP protection in addition to standard name, logo mark and word mark protection. We have more in process. There are elements of the platform workflow that are protectable, and that's in progress. So to expand it would be expand it, shore it up, and continue over time.
And does this scale beyond California?
Yes. So first of all, the short answer, the first answer is yes. It can expand even right away, potentially into other states or other cities. So without necessarily a whole state having a mandatory, we do focus on mandatory code, not voluntary certification systems, because those are processed, in different ways. But let's say if another state had a city that wanted to implement a mandatory green building code, we could accommodate that on the platform. So it can grow beyond California. It's also worth noting that we could process other forms of compliance forms. I've had test users say, gee, this is great for Cal Green, but we also have to do CHIPS for schools and OSHPD for health, and there's other types of building compliance forms.
Awesome. Phoebe has her hand up. Phoebe? You there? Maybe we lost her. Do any other of the judges have any questions for Amie? Phoebe, are you back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So is Amie there or she's
I am
she's-
here.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
here. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So my questions are around your what's your technology moats, right? Because there are so many different companies are kind of trying to get into the space, and you have big ones like Procure and many others you have listed. So what if they want to get into the niche space or kind of the overlapping space that you play well in? How are you going to kind of fend off that?
So you're breaking up a little bit. And I wanted to hear the first part of your question. It was about what technology we're using.
Uh-huh.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, the technology moat. Can you hear me better now?
Technology
Are you able to hear
mode?
me or still no?
Yes.
Yeah, technology moat. And then how are you going to fend off the competition from more mature companies that you have, like the competitors you have listed out?
Right. So my hope is that, I mean, this tool can be used in combination with any of the workflow management systems for cities or the project management software is used in construction. And so that is an advantage. It's hard to stop a large company incumbent with a lot of resources from trying to do something similar, but they won't have the flexibility of being compatible with anybody else's. You know, if the next project over is using, you know, a different project document coordination platform or same thing city to city, then they wouldn't be able to achieve the same flexibility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think we might have time for one more.
Yeah, I have a question. This is Sonam. So I live in New York City. I choose to work at City Hall on a lot of these issues, right? And one of the biggest problems is that DOB, right, Department of Buildings, often have their own technology and sort of back-end processing. So could you explain how your tool can integrate with something that they already have, especially if they're trying to implement like a citywide green building code, or here we have, you know, local law 97 that requires all of our buildings to reduce energy emissions, right? 40%, and all that stuff is very much so in play. So yeah, it's a retrofit tool. There's inspections, but DOB already has a lot of how do I put it? Back-end infrastructure, right? So talk about the integration process.
Yes, of course. And New York is one of the other places that has mandatory green building codes. And yes, every building department has a workflow management system because CalGreen, of course, is just a small part of the process in permitting a building, right? You've got, you know, life safety and structural and all sorts of other inspections. So there's a couple examples I would give for how that works. One is that from their workflow management, let's say they're checking off different elements of inspection for a building to be approved for final. For most, even their back-end infrastructure, they can add a line item. Without going to a third-party software provider, they can add a line item like past CalGreen inspection or provided their CalGreen form, and we can link to that unique record with one. You know, they can access that unique record with one click, or go to with one click to the record lookup and put in the permit number and pull it up. Yeah, so I think I got both of those parts. We would provide a way for them to access the unique record with one click, and that with workflow management systems, you can incorporate that into the inspection, you know, check boxes that the building official is using.
Thank you so much, Amie, and all the judges for these great questions. And we must move on to the next contestant. Take it away.
Thanks again, Amie, and to our judges. So we're going to give a quick shout out to one of our prize pool sponsors, QB Consulting. QB Consulting is a women-owned and BIPOC-led ESG strategy and communications firm, helping companies across sectors turn values into action through bespoke strategy design and communications. And so they're happy to talk with the winner about a range of items related to ESG, sustainability, and inclusion as to what they're seeing in the market and what their clients are looking for in terms of solutions. So we appreciate their time, and we're going to kick it off to our next contestant.
Awesome. And thank you, Gina. So I'm pleased to bring to the stage Raven Hernandez. Raven Hernandez is the founder and CEO of Earth Rides, an all-electric ride-hailing application or app. After graduating from Pepperdine Caruso School of Law, Raven, alongside her partner, Peter Smith, launched Earth Rides in October 2020 in her hometown of Nashville, Tennessee, to accelerate the adoption of clean technology. Thank you, Raven, and bring her to the stage now.
I think we're just waiting on my slides. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. You can go to the next slide. Earth Rides, like he mentioned, is an all-electric rideshare app that has been growing pretty fast over the last 18 months. One of our main problems, though, is there's not enough electric vehicles on the road. So with that, we decided to launch a FinTechnology solution that tackles predatory lending trends towards gig economy drivers, which we'll get into a little bit later in these slides. Next slide, please. So what we're looking to do, obviously, you all know what rideshare is. There are two main giants out there, but there's a lot of things that are happening in this space. What we're looking to do is capture 20% of the market in the next 5 years, which will be roughly $3 billion. We really have one thesis in mind, which is just good rideshare. We're not looking to be the cheapest option, and we're not looking to be the fastest option. We're looking to be the best. Next slide. In the last 18 months, we've had amazing traction. Like I mentioned, we launched in Nashville, Tennessee amidst a global pandemic, and then in Austin, Texas in August of 2021. And within the next 10 days, we'll be live in Scottsdale, Arizona. In those last 18 months, we've seen almost 300,000 passengers, almost 70,000 downloads, and 7 million app events. Interesting enough, 60% of all of our rides are actually scheduled bookings, and our month-over-month growth has been roughly 30%. Our CAC in comparison to our competitors is extremely impressive, if you ask me, at $3.86 in comparison to Uber and Lyft around $32, with an LTV of $95. And I know you're probably wondering, well, how have you been able to do that? We'll head to the next slide and we'll find out. So our partnerships, really, that's what we focused on. B2B2C is how we've been able to execute with such high LTV and low CAC. These are just some of our 200 partnerships that we have across 2 states, Four Seasons, Soho House, Patagonia. All of them are focused on not only the ESG component of having carbon offsets be relatable to the transportation sector of their business, but they want quality service. They want to know that they're going to have a clean car and a great driver show up. We really focus on having good drivers, which means we have to be transparent with our payouts, and we've got to care about our drivers, which is really, one of the main tenets of our business. Now, what does a partnership look like? That looks like a partner either paying for the ride themselves and booking it for their customer, or directing their customers to utilize our services. We've partnered not only with hotels, but as well as condos, restaurants, and bars. One of the main things that the pandemic did for us was allow us to have this opportunity to get into name brands that more or less might not have chosen us, but because the pandemic did give us a reset option, we were able to take advantage of that. In these upcoming markets, we'll actually be launching with anchor partners, and what an anchor partner will look like is guaranteed minimum. So in order to utilize our service and have access to our dashboards, they will have to book a minimum ride per day, and if they don't, they will be charged the average cost for the week of those rides. Next slide, please. We all know there's a lot of issues with rideshare. The rideshare companies aren't making money, the drivers aren't making money, they aren't feeling appreciated, and the riders aren't having a good ride. We don't have to belabor that, but let's head to slide 2. So problem 2, for us, we can give you great transportation, but we're not able to grow as fast as we can because there's just not enough electric vehicles on the road. We don't have hybrid and we don't have gas. So how are we going to tackle this problem? Pollution, transportation is the #1 polluter in the US, and rideshare drivers are not really looked at as people that you want to lend to because of their 1099 status. And that, therefore, they're getting higher down payments as well as higher interest rates. Next slide. So we're excited to announce that we're creating a financial technology tool that will live in the operating system of electric vehicles natively. We're partnering with 3 OEMs to execute on this. And what it'll look like is it'll allow for a real-time default risk score, so drivers are able to understand their financial situation. It'll also allow for micropayments. And so let's say that, Gina is a rideshare driver with us. She gets in the car. We say, hey, Gina, you're on track to make your monthly payments this month, but go ahead and pick up one ride on the way to Starbucks to make sure you stay on track. On the adverse, we might say, hey, Gina, you're behind. Go ahead and pick up 5 rides a day, and we'll put 50% of your ride revenue towards your car payment in order to stay on track. Really showing to lenders that these are individuals who can be trusted to have, electric vehicles and good interest rates. Next slide, please. So we're raising $20 million in this A. We're hiring a CTO, launching a minimum of 8 new cities, and deploying 300 electric vehicles. We're actually quite well underway in this round. So we're looking for a lead who can do 10 to 15 million minimum and be a true strategic partner. And that's it. Thank you. I'm excited to answer questions.
Awesome. Thank you. We have, I'm sure some of our judges might have some questions. So I see Leslie came off the mic.
Yeah, I wanted to hear a little bit about your traction from a financial perspective, Raven.
Absolutely.
This is very cool.
Yeah, so we'll finish the year at a 2.5 million run rate. We've got about $300,000 and 15% growing every month on rides that we're missing. So that's what we're really trying to capture with growing the company, is all those rides that we're missing because we just don't have enough drivers.
So is your core business the fintech part, the part that allows drivers to pay their car notes, or is it the marketplace part?
Yeah,
connecting?
That's a great question. So I launched the company because I'm really passionate about my health. I realized very quickly on looking at LAX from Pepperdine that health was going to be impacted by our environment. So our ethos is accelerating the adoption of clean technology. How we began doing that is via rides, and we'll continue to do rides, but we want to branch out. And we realize that in order to get drivers into vehicles, we've got to get creative. And we believe that the fintech piece of this company is really going to, moat us and allow us to be the unicorn that we want to be.
I see Phoebe's hand. Phoebe?
Yeah. Hi, Raven. If I could go for next, really interesting concept. So we are strategic. We can lead. We can follow. So pretty interested in the round and happy to connect offline. My question would be like, right now you have Uber and Lyft ride option, and then most of the time is like either Tesla, Leaf, or it might be like Forns. So I wonder like how you compare yourself. What would have like they are trying to in the whole like EV sharing space? How do you compete with that?
Yeah, so I think your question was, how are we moating ourselves and competing against other rideshare companies? Uber and Lyft have really taken the focus on the driver is not an asset, right? They've spent almost $2 billion trying to create a failed autonomous.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they've created a failed autonomous thing. They've also spent over $200 million on Prop 22. They've focused on the driver as not being their key audience. And so they're spending $2,000 to $3,000 in driver acquisition, and they're losing those drivers every 6 to 8 months, about 80% of their workforce. The way that we're different is, one, we actually care about our drivers. And so we're creating this financial tool specifically for them and specifically for driver retention. We believe if we can get drivers into electric vehicles affordably, they'll stay committed to driving with us, alongside making sure that they know exactly how much they're making is really important.
All right, we have time for one more question for Raven. Do any of the judges have another question before we go on to the next contestant?
Yeah, I had one around just in terms of the people that are then driving the cars. So is the idea that they are paying off the cars that you are giving, or like you guys are actually purchasing the cars for them and then they are paying that off with you? Or is it that they come in with their own car and then you guys are helping them pay it off? And or is there a third option of they come in with anything they need to pay off and you guys are actually helping them facilitate that through their driving as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually launched the company with vehicles that we owned, which is obviously very capital intensive. That's not a model that we want to continue at scale,
Great.
nor do I think it makes sense. So we
Okay,
have
was that at seed stage, or when was that? Was that
at seed
before this
stage? Yeah.
company?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
So over the
Great.
last 18 months, we have over 20 vehicles that we operate. Then when we got TNC insurance, so we were allowed to bring on 1099s who own their own electric vehicle. We have over 40 that currently are with us. To your question, we're actually working directly with the OEMs to have vehicles that are under a $40,000 MSRP to where you can apply to drive. We have over 200 applicants who are ready to go with this particular round to get into these vehicles. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I have some follow-ups, but I'll put it in the comments. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
And thanks, Ruben.
All right. Well, this is what I call good stuff. This is exciting, and we're going to get on to our next contestant. Thank you, judges. Or actually, I think we're going to spotlight someone. All right.
Yes. So we would like to thank EDF Innovation Lab for their charitable contribution. EDF is a global integrated energy company, one of the world's largest electricity producers and the largest renewable energy producer in Europe. And they will be providing a 1-hour business strategy consultation and connection to any relevant experts during that meeting. So thank you again to EDF Innovation Lab. I'm dropping a link to their site in the chat now. And I'm going to hand this off to Gina.
Thanks, Christian. So our fifth contestant, Andrea Jagodic, unfortunately is unable to make it today due to COVID. So although she is no longer in the competition and we do not have a recorded pitch from her, we would like to give an introduction of Andrea and her company. So Andrea is the CEO and co-founder of Mana Biosystems. Mana is an agri-tech company turning organic waste into savings for farmers and the planet. They install containerized insect farms on site that feed your organic waste to the black soldier fly. Mana processes protein-packed raw product and distributes it to feed millers. These results are organic waste management and contributing to a more circular, sustainable food system. So we encourage people of interest to contact them directly, and we're going to drop their links and contact information in the chat. So unfortunately, as we will not be hearing from Andrea, we're going to move into our sponsor spotlight. Next slide, please. So we are very appreciative of the Cleantech Group for their generous prize. They are offering the winner a guest pass to their annual Cleantech Forum in North America, which is the world's longest running world innovation event. The winner is also granted a presentation slot within the conference, subject to editorial considerations at that time. So we appreciate them, and we will drop their link in the chat as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina. So we are now on to, I believe, our last pitch contestant of the evening. Alba Forns is the chief strategist and co-founder of Climatize Earth. In 2019, her and her co-founder Will joined the global climate strikes in Barcelona. And they held on to that hope that was lit, at the global climate strikes, and started to look for ways to turn that collective energy into tangible impact. And that's how Climatize Earth was born. They have a mission to decarbonize, decentralize, and democratize the energy transition by building the People's Financial Network for Climate Action. Please welcome Alba Forns.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well? Well, I'm Alba. Nice to meet you all. I apologize for the background noise. I'm calling from Europe today. It's the national holiday, and you might hear some fireworks in the background. But well, without further ado, let's start the presentation. Next slide, please. As you heard in the introduction, in 2019, my co-founder and I saw over 100,000 people protesting for climate action. But we're struck by the sad reality that everyone would go home and nothing would be different. Next slide, please. The sense of urgency is there, but people feel powerless. Finance is how we move the needle on climate. And despite demand for sustainable investing being at an all-time high, people don't have access to the benefits of the energy transition. They don't have the time to take climate action, and it is hard for them to trust organizations due to greenwashing and misinformation. Next slide, please. The clock is ticking, but there's hope. The will is there. Climate is the #1 concern for the younger generations. 99% want to invest sustainably, and they even have $30 trillion ready to do good. So let's move to the next slide to see what we are proposing. Next slide, please. At Climatize, we enable the climate movement to organize financially and socially. You can see who of your friends and community is helping fund each project. You can actively invest or simply set the roundup to automatically invest the spare change from your everyday purchases. And by using Climatize, you also earn discounts at our network of sustainable brand partners. Next slide, please. With our roundup feature, we enable people to invest from as little as 1 cent. We make it automatic, so you can just set it and forget it. Every time you make a purchase, you are directly making an impact. Next slide, please. There are over 9 million ideal customers in the US who together will generate over $2 billion per year with just the spare change from their everyday purchases. From this, we will capture almost $200 million of revenue. After the US, we will target Europe, India, Africa, and then Latin America. Next slide, please. These insights help form our strategy to tap into the climate movement hubs, taking a B2B approach to B2C acquisition. We are using this targeted approach to build a global financial network for climate action. Next slide, please. Through our Good News Climate channel, we've seen a 400% increase in views per video and a surge in our waitlist. Next slide. And so far, we've signed 10 letters of intent with project developers. We're actually quickly growing our community. We crowdfunded a solar array in Kenya and are funding 24 solar projects for low-income households in Hollister, California. We've enlisted 16 partner brands and won 3 global awards in the process. Next slide. And finally, how we monetize. On the project side, we take a success fee and a loan servicing fee. On the B2C side, we have a freemium model and a loyalty program. Collectively, the projects funded by Climatize will avoid almost 60 million tons of CO2, which is the same emissions reduced by planting nearly 1 billion trees. Next slide, please. The co-funding team, as we said at the beginning, consists of myself and Will. We were both recently selected as Young Global Changers by the World Policy Forum. Our team has experience at the world's top tech and financial firms. We're small but mighty. And next slide, please. Well, we are currently fundraising and we have raised from government institutions, high-profile angels, and institutional VC. With our current fundraising round, we're going to go through the FINRA and SEC approval process. We are launching our beta with 10,000 users and want to reach the $1 million mark invested by users with our app. Judges, these are the people in your community demanding for action. Let's give them the tools to fight for a more sustainable future. Thank you, and let's make every transaction an investment in climate action.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we can get any questions from the judges. Who would like to go first? Leslie?
Okay. So thank you for that. Alba, I'm a little confused. You said it was B2B, but then there's the concept of roundups. So can you explain a little bit more about how it works?
Sure, of course. So we are double-sided. That sometimes can be a bit confusing because we have the B2B branch and the B2C branch at the same time. So we connect the investors who are the B2C branch, so everyday people, let's say, the ones who are putting their spare change into the projects, with the projects themselves who are the B2B. So we act as a marketplace and we're essentially connecting everyday people with the projects.
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions for Alba from the judges?
Yeah, hi. This is Sonam. Alba, thanks again for the presentation. Can you talk a little bit more about your B2C strategy, right? So how are you actually acquiring users? You've got an Instagram, you've got sort of social media presence, but how quickly do you attempt to ramp up users? And I guess another question is, are you kind of like thinking of this as a Kiva type of platform for funding climate, climate investment or climate action?
Sure. So I don't know if you are familiar. I mean, obviously I know Kiva. I'm such a big fan of them, but maybe Acorns could also be used as an example. I don't know if you used Acorns before, but you could think of us as Acorns
Yes.
for climate. So that could also be an example of someone who's doing something in this space. And about how we are planning on acquiring those users. We are building this from the ground up. So we are really being present in those communities, in those climate activist movements. So for example, when we were in Europe before, we were actually in Stockholm with Greta Thunberg and the other activists, and we use that to actually build her up to satisfy their needs. Right now, we're also working with the Sunrise movement, and we're starting very locally in the Bay Area. So through this climate hubs, that's how we're planning on expanding. We also have a network of sustainable partner brands with whom we offer discounts. So that's also a way for us to acquire new customers. And then the projects themselves already have an existing community that's willing to invest in those projects as well.
Thank you.
Got it. And then how do you expect to expand, I mean, we all live and breathe climate, and that's great, but the vast majority of the world does not, right? So how do you intend to expand into a much broader network, right? Like, what does that longer term user acquisition look like?
Sorry, could you repeat again? I cannot hear you acoustically. You mean from expanding from one country to another one, right?
Yeah, I think your focus on climate action, people who are interested in climate, who are showing up at these rallies, who are thinking about buying sustainably through your partners, makes a lot of sense to get you started. But the reality of the world that we live in is that that's a relatively small group of people, right? So how do you think about the longer term user acquisition strategy, right? What happens once all those people are signed up?
Sure. Well, that's our first type of customer persona. So those that are climate conscious and want to invest sustainably, but there's also people who are just driven by the returns. Actually, investing in renewable energy projects is not only good for the environment, but it's also profitable. So users can expect returns between 5 and 13%, depending on what they're investing in. So we really want to educate people and show them that doing good can also be profitable. So we want to tie profit, people, and planet at the same time.
All right. And then Phoebe, I see that you have your hand up. This will be our last question for her.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, Alba. I really appreciate the presentation. So I see this as a kind of crowdfunding, like the seed investor Indiegogo for less educated or not compared to accredited investors, right? These are mainstream investors that might not have the venture capital or the project financing background, and especially for the green projects, it's has more expertise involved. So how are you able to kind of vet the projects on your platform so that the customers that or the mainstream investors coming to your platform are investing in the right or good?
Hi, Phoebe. Thank you for your question. So what we do is initially we run a due diligence ourselves to vet the projects previously before putting them on the platform. So they make sense from a technical and economic perspective. And then we share all of that information. Not only do we share documents where if the user, the investor wants to dig deep into the due diligence, they actually have access to that. It's all public, but we also have videos, we have metrics, we show the track record of the company, the team behind it. So there's a lot of story behind that. And that's also something that they have at their disposal. There's also a discussion chat. They have the emails of the project developers. So everything is very accessible. And if they want to dig deeper and want to know more about the project, they are welcome to do the due diligence. But we already do that ourselves as well to protect our investors.
Yeah, so I think beware of the risk. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay, well, I do believe we are now done with all of our pitches.
Yes, that was our last contestant for the evening. So I'll just wrap up here with a quick sponsorship spotlight, and just want to give a big thanks to Azala Ventures. Azala Ventures is founded by Prime Coalition, a nonprofit organization that partners with philanthropists and other mission-driven investors to support market-driven innovations designed to catalyze, deepen, or accelerate solutions for climate change. They will also be providing an hour consultation with climate tech venture capitalists, and I will be dropping a link for them in the chat. Awesome. So all in all, I think as we bring the pitching portion of this competition to a close, I'd like to thank all the pitchers and encourage all the pitchers, everyone who gave awesome presentations, and the judges as well, who asked some awesome questions. Just drop your links in the chat. I think a big boon of these types of competitions is the ability to connect with one another. Regardless of whether or not you're an investor, there might be some real value in opening a conversation and understanding the solutions that these businesses provide. So really want to encourage the pitchers to drop their links in the chat. And I would like to also encourage everyone to give a virtual round of applause. It takes a lot of courage to come up and pitch, whether it be virtual or in person. And I'd like to thank all the pitchers again for their time and energy and presence today. So thank you again. And I'm going to hand this off to Gina.
Thanks, Christian. So we would also like to thank all of our judges, and just to let you all know that it is time to jump into the breakout room. And for our audience, it's going to be time to vote. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So please scan the QR code on the slide. We'll also drop the link in the chat for you all to vote. And we're going to give about 5 minutes here. So please be patient with us. We're going to tally your votes, and then we'll come back in about 5.
For people that are not or are finished voting, we just want to make a few announcements about the next upcoming events for WCS. On June 29th, we have Essential Allies for Your Career. Join us to learn the importance of allies, mentors, and receiving support of sponsors through our career journey on June 29th. We also have July 13th, A Stronger Grid in the Face of Wildfires, which will be a panel of grid experts explaining why grid resiliency matters and how to migrate events like wildfires in the era of the climate change. On July 23rd, there's also a LA chapter book club called Donut Economics. And you can join live in a LA location or join us virtually for that panel on virtual happy hour on July 21st. And then we have in July another live event, which is July 28th, which is going to be a summer social in San Francisco, where the location will be soon announced. Thank you for coming today and participating, and we hope you enjoyed all of the show today.
All right. This was definitely harder than we thought. And, we came to a serious deliberation in the other room. And so I do want to thank all of the contestants today. And coming in third place is Greenmetry. Thank you, Amy Lewis, for your pitch today. We really appreciate you. Coming in runner-up is Earth Rides. We really appreciate you, Raven, and all that you're doing in this, economy. And we have the pleasure of announcing the winner of 2022's pitch competition, which is Rent-a-Romper, Lauren Gregor. We want to thank you so much. Definitely congratulations to you. We had some really good deliberation in the judging room, and it was such a well put together presentation by all of our pitch contestants. And in my eyes, you are all winners. In my eyes, if I had all the money, I would give you money to make it happen. And I really look forward to seeing you expand your businesses and following you. So we will be filling this out and sending this over in a plaque for you. Lauren, congratulations. We will also be posting this on our social media. And we're excited to announce you, Lauren Rent-a-Romper. I really just, you know, myself being a single mom, I was like, man, this was a service that definitely I would have used as a young mom. So if we can go to the next slide, and we're going to close out here relatively quick. I do believe we went through all the upcoming events during the breakout room, so I'm not going to go through this. Next slide. And if you can stay connected, we just want to say thank you again to all of our volunteers, to all of the people that gave their presentations today, all of our sponsors. And I just want to give a big shout out to Christian, Apia, and Gina. Thank you so much for all your hard work. They did a great job co-moderating. Thank you, both of you. Next slide. And if I think we went over these already. We can go to the next slide. Last but not least, please follow us on all of our social media, and we look forward to staying connected with everybody. I want you all to have a wonderful day. And as I started our meeting today, it's a day that we've never seen before, and it's a day that we'll never see again. And we're excited to have our 2022 pitch competition winner, Rent-a-Romper, Lauren Gregor. Congratulations to you. We can't wait to make this big announcement. Lauren, you got any closing statements for us?
I just want to say thank you so much for all that you guys are doing to, you know, promote women and what we're trying to do. There's not a ton of spaces where we get front and center stage all the time. So it's awesome. And it's just such a great day to be a part of all of these incredible companies, and so excited to learn about what everybody's doing. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, once again, please try to stay cool in this California weather. If you're in California, stay cool, drink some water, and stay hydrated, everybody. Take care.